Welcome to the Please Suck Less podcast, a podcast where I voice my opinions and views about things that piss me off and how we can make the world suck just a little bit less. Thanks for listening. So, career and volunteer firefighters have been around for a long, long time. Granted, volunteers have been around a lot longer, but for those of us that work in combination systems, which means that you work with career and volunteers working side by side, we find ourselves in these combination systems kind of at a crossroads. Now, it's no surprise that volunteerism is declining. It's harder to get volunteers to join the rank and file in the fire service. And a lot of that has to do with time that they have to invest. The training has gotten a lot longer and hours wise. And some of the training organizations, state training organizations, whatever, have failed to get with the times. And I talked about that in an earlier podcast. There's other ways to approach training if we truly want to attract more volunteers. So I'm not going to get into that because we've talked about that before. But when it comes to career and volunteers working in combination systems, I've seen an array of the hatred between career hating volunteers, volunteers hating career, all the way up to career and volunteers working together and recognizing that when they do work together, they can accomplish a lot more when it comes to making life better in the fire service, whether you want to get policies passed or get legislative changes done. The entities of career and volunteers are working together. There's so much more that can be done because you form this unified front. Sadly, I have seen the decline of this relationship, this working together, or the refusal to work together in some of these combination systems. And it's just really tarnishing the reputations of some good organizations. What's really saddens me is that when the senior staff, the career senior staff, like chiefs and deputy chiefs and assistant chiefs that run the county organization, fail to embrace or elicit the help of volunteer corporations and volunteers to make the system better. They almost at the point now where they pile on so many restrictions and so many things that volunteers have to do that it almost makes it impossible for them to continue to exist. And what ends up happening is you start losing the ranks. They make life, some of these organizations make life hostile, sometimes unbearable for volunteers to come and help get the apparatus out or to volunteer their time on EMS units and fire apparatus and things like that. We end up being our own worst enemy in the fire service. And, to me, I've got over 35 years of time in the fire service between being career and volunteer, and to see these higher echelon staff, fire career staff people push the volunteers out is just, it's disgusting. And there's really no room for that type of, and I'll use this in tongue-in-cheek, leadership, because they are not leaders, to be part of a combination organization. So, I know that there is animosity out there in some of these county systems where it feels, and I would be willing to bet that there is proof that they are trying to push the volunteers out by piling on the demand in order to maintain your volunteer certs, your certifications, make it almost impossible for them to continue. And you'll see it'll start with little things where they'll have mandatory trainings, but they'll only offer it during weekday, daytime hours between 9 and 5, knowing full well that most volunteers who work 9 to 5 jobs wouldn't be able to get that training and not be willing to offer volunteer-friendly hours, as we say, in order to get the training. Now, don't get me wrong. We do have volunteers out there that do just the bare minimum. They have no desire to make themselves better other than get the bare minimum classes. And to me, with my heart is in training, there's no room for those type of people either that only want to do the bare minimum. So I don't know what the answer is other than if you're working in a combination system as a career person and you have animosity or hatred towards volunteers, my advice to you is to quit and go find a job in an all career department, whether it be a city or an organization that has no volunteers, because there's really no room for you in that particular organization where it is a combination system. And my advice to the volunteers that don't want to work with the career people or only want to do the bare minimum, on the short end, you're dangerous because you're not trying to make yourself better, but you're also an anchor to the system where you refuse to work with the career people, whether you feel that you're better than them because volunteers have been around longer or whatever it is. The bottom line is we need to work together. Now, for the volunteer organizations that are out there that are experiencing this animosity towards you, you need to fight. You need to, and when I say fight, as in go to your political figures, let them know what's going on, bring documented evidence of what's going on to institute change. It's the only way that you will make change happen is to make more people aware with factual information. Don't bring your feelings into it. If you choose to do nothing other than complain, then you're going to be the victim of whatever happens to you. So the ball's in your court. But at the end of the day, union leaders, career firefighters, volunteer leaders, you guys need to work together. What I've seen, speaking specifically for Montgomery County, Maryland, I've seen it to where the volunteers back in the early 80s and prior to were in charge of the career people. They employed their own career people to where the county took over, and you saw this rift between career and volunteer. And it took, I'd say, almost 20 years in order for the volunteers and the career to recognize that if we work together, we can accomplish so much more. And my hats off to Jeff Buttle, who was the union president in Montgomery County, and Eric Bernard, who was in charge of the Volunteer Association, working together to get a lot of changes for the better for the fire service in general. So get out and look at that particular model and see if something like that can work for you, because there are a lot of organizations that are suffering. Moving on to the next topic. In case you live under a rock, this is an election season. You can't swing a cat without finding somebody who's running for office. I had to talk to a buddy of mine because I wanted to know specifically on the career side, why do unions in the fire service gravitate and support Democratic candidates blindly, I should say. I was a member of the union. I didn't agree with who the international would support. Sometimes I didn't agree with who my local was supporting. And it seemed like they never dipped down to actually ask the membership, who do you think we should support? 99% of the time, they're supporting the Democrats. And let me throw what my opinion is out there. Politicians, whether they're Democratic or Republican, are going to promise you the moon and the stars. What comes into your decision is, do they advocate for the issues that you feel are important to you, and do they follow through once they're elected, or is it just all lip service, and when it's all said and done, they don't do shit for nobody other than themselves? They promise you the moon, and basically they lie to you. That's what I feel about politicians. They're going to tell you whatever it is that you want to hear, tell you that they're 100% in your corner, and then they do nothing for you. Again, going back to my Montgomery County days, when Larry Hogan was running for governor the first time, our local IAFF interviewed both candidates and came away feeling more comfortable with the Republican candidate versus the Democratic candidate. Unfortunately, even though they supported the Republican candidate, they couldn't say it out loud for I don't know if it was for fear of what the rest of the unions in the state would say or the international. So I know secretly they supported Hogan for his first run. When he got up for reelection, Jeff Buttle stood up and told Larry Hogan, "We are going to support you, and we want to be the first union IFF local in the state of Maryland to come out in support of the Republican candidate." And he did just that. So my hat's off again to Jeff Buttle. He listened to his people, his members of the IFF local, and that's who they ended up supporting. And Larry Hogan went on for a second term. Larry did do his best to give the unions as well as the volunteers what they needed to operate. You know, the unfortunate thing is that he was a Republican in a severely Democratic state or Democrat run state. So he could only accomplish so much. But he did do quite a bit for the career and volunteer. Now, taking this forward, advice, my opinion to union members out there: if you don't agree with who your local president, vice president, or board members are supporting, be vocal. Let them know why you don't support them or you don't support that particular candidate. Don't just blindly follow a candidate because that's the way we've always done it. That's one of the number one things firefighters hate is, why do we do something? Well, that's the way we've always done it. Well, it seems like that's the exact excuse they use when they support the Democrat who is running for office, whether it be president, governor, county executive, and so forth, mayor, because they've always done it that way. But you really have to dig into the politics. You really have to see what their record is, because when it's all said and done, 9 times out of 10, they're not doing the shit that they said they were going to do for you anyway. Talk to your people. Your members are the most important. And if they overwhelmingly support a candidate that's not who the board is supporting in the local, then you're just going to have to bite the bullet because you're there working for your people. Okay? At the end of the day, which politician out there is going to do the best for the fire service, for your town, your county, for your state, for your country? That's who you should be supporting. You want to support some of these Democrats, and these unions are blindly following them. And at the end of the day, they're going to say, yes, we're going to work on helping you get your 5% raise. And then they raise taxes 10%. So where did your 5% raise go? It went nowhere. Use your head. Do the research. Don't just blindly follow a candidate because that's the way you've always done it. Hey, at the end of the day, if the Democrat candidate is the one that is going to give you what you need, by all means, you support them. If the Republican candidate is more desirable, that you feel that they're going to give you what you need, then support that candidate. You need to support who's going to be best for the organization, not just because you've always done it that way. Listen to your people. They elected you to be on the board, whether it's president, vice president, treasurer, secretary, whatever. Listen to your people. So let's just wrap this up right here. Don't always do what you've always done just because that's the way it's always been done. And these volunteers and career people that are in combination systems, there is more power in numbers and more power when you work together than when you work apart from each other. So stop fighting each other, start working together with each other. At the end of the day, in a smoke-filled hallway, you can't see your hand in front of your face. You don't know if the guy that's next to you is career or volunteer. So stop putting each other in different buckets. You're the same. Remember, be better, do better, suck less. Thanks for listening.